Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Alright ladies, I have a question for you. Does this sound like you? You're alone, you're successful, and the clock's ticking. You're still young though. You're a liberated, strong black woman. You want your brains respected, and you want your feelings cherished by a man that you respect and cherish. You want to be joined with the man in partnership of thoughts and feelings and mutual life goals, like home, family, and interesting career. You have dated men who seemed right in the beginning. They were so attentive and so interesting and so romantic. But then all of a sudden, everything falls apart just like always, right? They're no longer romantic, no longer attentive. They're no longer interesting. So you ask yourself again, what happened? Why did it happen? And even more so, why did it happen and when? So then you find yourself alone all over again, envying those women with men you wouldn't even want. Then you say to yourself, maybe I should just settle for the nice guy down at my church. And suddenly you feel sick in the pit of your stomach for even thinking such a thought. Then you travel with your girlfriends to distract yourself. Or you may still be with that married man who promises to leave his boring wife and never does. Or you continue to entertain yourself physically with the convenient thug boy who never is more than just a temporary preoccupation with your passions. Lastly, you try to settle for that reasonable, attractive brother with the good conversation and the great family values. But you say to yourself, I just can't. And the question is, why? Well, ladies, I'm talking to you today about the issue of why men change. Why men change. I know that's a mystery. And a lot of women, especially women, they have this situation occur in their lives constantly, and it's very consistent, especially in today's culture. I can't really count how many times women have approached me, and I'm talking about the ones that I know, that I deal with, that have approached me and told me that so often they have started out in their relationships with men, and they all start out in that honeymoon phase and everything's great and everything's going well, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the relationship just crashes and burns. And women, for the most part, they really don't understand what's going on. They don't, the man just either turns off, or he doesn't return calls anymore, or when he's with her, he's no longer attentive, just as I mentioned earlier, or he's not as romantic as he used to be. And so, of course, the natural tendency of many women today is that perhaps the man has another person that he's dealing with, or perhaps maybe there's a situation that she may not be aware of. It could be a combination of all those things. But I'm going to give you 4 reasons today why many men change in their relationships with women. Now, of course, as I always say, there are many reasons for all of the situations that I discuss. There are many reasons why men and women do what they do, because we're all individuals. So please just bear with me when I talk to you about these issues, and not try to focus so much on what I did not say. Kind of think about what I am saying and see if you can apply some of the information and some of the principles to your own personal situation. Fair enough? All right, let's talk about, why do men change? Why do they change in many of these relationships? Now, one of the first reasons men change in relationships is because they are responding to you in the relationship. They're responding to you in the relationship. Now, don't get it twisted. I know the first thing most women like to do when we talk about these issues of relationship and we talk about some of the ways men and women relate to one another, women typically go to their default reaction that it is always the woman's fault, or that the woman is being blamed somehow for the deconstruction of a relationship. That is not, and I don't understand why many of the women who are now listening to me, I'm sure they understand this, but I'm talking to those who are perhaps listening for the first time. Don't misunderstand my heart. I'm not suggesting that women are always to blame, or even in this case to blame. There is no blame here. This is just biology. This is just by design. This is design. Men are designed to respond to women. We respond to you. You need to understand that, ladies. I've said it and I'll continue to say it until you get it in that head of yours. Men always respond to the woman in the relationship. That's why when I fashion my discussions and I craft my topics about any personal relationship having to do with men and women, you girls are the architect of the relationship. You have pretty much almost 90% of all of the power in the relationship, but you won't understand it, or you don't understand it. And for some reason, you think people are blaming you. That's why I said you don't know what you don't know. No one's blaming you. I am only suggesting that you understand that as a man, I'm telling you from a man's perspective. Men respond to women. We're responders. That's what we're doing. So if you know that, you have this vital information that that's how our minds work in a relationship, then it gives you a tremendous amount of leverage, right? You can use this information to your advantage, and to the advantage of the man even, and to the advantage of the relationship, if you grasp that principle. Men change in relationships initially because women are changing in the relationship, because we're responding to you. We're responding to you. So, this is what I mean. Men need a lot of things in relationships. Granted, men don't necessarily know what they need, but men need a lot of things in relationship. Women, because the way God designed relationships, it's obvious that women are required or needed for a man in order for a man, in my view, to be complete in this world. Now, I'm not going to argue with you about same-sex, and I'm not going to argue with you about political correctness and sexual identification and all of that foolishness that we're dealing with now. I don't care about any of that. Okay? I'm talking about it from just a biological and a spiritual perspective. That's where I'm coming from. This is my perspective. Everyone else can have their perspective. I don't care. I'm not going to argue with it. If you want to be with a woman, be with a woman. If you want to be, as a man, be with another man, be with a man. Just understand, like I always say, you cannot lie to the body. The body will respond appropriately, because you can say what you want to say in your mind, but the body can't lie. There will be consequences. Understand that. Okay. I digress. Let me move on. With that being said, women, if you understand that we are responding to you. Men need stability in a relationship. Men need balance in a relationship. Men need structure in a relationship. Women bring all these qualities and many, many, many more. Sadly, women don't understand that. You don't understand that. Now, again, don't get back on your heels thinking I'm blaming you because you don't understand these things or you've never been told these things. You have this information now. You need to make sure that you have structure in your life. You need to make sure that your life is stable. And you certainly need to make sure that there's some balance going on in your life and that you have boundaries. Because trust and believe that brother is going to respond to you. Okay? So if those things aren't there or those things are waning, trust, he is going to change on you because he's responding to you. All right? That's number one. Number two, he's responding to his agenda that he brings to the relationship. A lot of men, and I know you ladies know this, men always have a plan. Always. Oftentimes their plan is premature, and oftentimes their plan is very immature when it comes to relationships. I get that. And often, because of those two factors alone, when a man sees that these plans, whatever his agenda is not being fulfilled or is not being executed properly, he changes. This has nothing to do necessarily with you. This is all about his plan, his agenda, whatever it may be. So understand, the only area or the only area that you play, the only priority that you play in that agenda is that he may find out later on that the way you are doesn't fit into his agenda. And so he moves or he changes on you. So that's number two. Number three, he's responding to his unmet expectations. He's responding to his unmet expectations. For example, he's realizing you both do not share the same core values. He recognizes that you do not, as a result of the relationship, during the discovery process of the relationship, he recognizes you don't share the same goals. You don't share the same core values. So what does he do? He changes on you. Right? Makes sense. You're not necessarily doing anything wrong here. There's no blame here. You're just different. And so he has made a decision to make a different change or make a different, go a different direction, if you will. All right. Also, you may not be connecting on the heart level. Because men want to connect just like women. But he may not be connecting on the heart level because he's not, because of the way the relationship is flowing. And women, this is something you need to understand. Often men can't connect on the heart level because modern relationships now tend to be a little bit lopsided, where you have one, and often that's the woman who's doing all the heavy lifting. What I mean, she's doing all the giving. Now that's lopsided because it should be the other way around. Men should be doing the giving. Women should be doing the receiving. However, because culture has changed so much, women do almost all the giving. And if a man is not allowed or required to participate, right, in the relationship, and he's merely regulated to receiving, then he can't connect. Men connect by doing. We connect by doing. If we're not allowed to do and to invest, then guess what's going to happen? Our hearts can't bond. We can't connect. All right? We're still talking about responding to unmet expectations, right? Now, I think the last area would be not being respected. We're still talking about responding to unmet expectations. Not being respected. Now, respect merely, in a man's mind, is about being esteemed by those that he respects, or those that he cares about, or those that he loves. When the woman of his life doesn't esteem him, doesn't see him high and lifted up, if you will, for lack of a better phrase, right? Or she doesn't praise him for what he does and who he is, and she doesn't show appreciation for what he does and who he is, that registers as a lack of love, actually, because for a man, you've heard me say this, that for us, love is respect. And so in order for you to, of course, get go forward in your relationship with a man, you have to make sure you understand the way to do that is through the respect corridor. Now, if you don't understand that, and you're not showing this esteem, and you're not treating him like he deserves to be treated from the standpoint of his position in your relationship, if he's the man in your life, and you want to esteem him where he needs to be esteemed, even when he's not behaving the way he needs to behave, you should still esteem him. You should help him to get to where he needs to be. You should always let him know that you see him better than he sees himself, that he's better than he thinks he is. And if he understands that you see him that way, trust and believe, most men, if they're not mental or they're not severely immature, they will rise to the level of expectation. Believe that. Okay? And the last one, he's responding to his perception that he is no longer valued in the relationship. He's responding to the perception that he is no longer valued in the relationship. Okay, that's pretty simple. Oftentimes, a man is in a relationship with a woman, and over time, he doesn't get the attention that he thinks he should be getting, or he hasn't, or he's gotten in the past, and that starts to wane. Now, again, this is the ebb and flow of relationships. Your attention is not going to stay constant for a man, nor is his attention going to stay constant for you, because we're fallen creatures. It's not in us to do that. We can't do that. That's just Hollywood. You can't always, you get up in the morning, I love you, and the feelings are always there, because life always happens, and you're going to have those problems. So at the end of the day, we have to continue to do what we do, okay? What we can do in our relationships. But once men realize that there's a problem, and he is not being able to be a part of that solution anymore in that relationship, and he's experiencing that he doesn't count anymore in the relationship, what he wants and who he is and all this other stuff doesn't seem to matter, then I'm going to tell you right now, once a man realizes that, he's going to change on you in the relationship. That's just real talk. So it's obvious that what you want to do is do the opposite of everything that I said. That's how you deal with the situation, obviously. So what you want to do, obviously, is you want to make sure that you have that stability. want to make sure that you can't do anything about a man's agenda necessarily, other than, you know, be who you are. And if he fits and you fit, everything's great. But some of the other things you can do, just be who you are in a relationship, in terms of being authentic, in terms of being vulnerable, in terms of being receptive. If you can do those things, lady, it's most likely you will not see some of the severe changes that you see in your relationships. Again, ladies, that's my time. I thank you for yours. I catch you on the other side. God bless you.